A little over 3 years ago, I started a series of videos on object-oriented programming. And the purpose, starting out, was not to actually leave people with the ability to do it, but with the hope that they would be able to buy into the concept of object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is extremely powerful, and it is for the benefit of the programmer, not for the benefit of the computer or anyone else. If you're not an object-oriented programmer, it is to your advantage to become one. I know some people who are very stuck on structured programming have, of course, left comments that disagree, but this is my position. The videos were interesting in that there were no code samples, there were no diagrams, it was just me kind of waving my hand, some and describing it, and they were well received by a number of people who have requested that I go ahead and give some code examples showing how to do something procedurally and how to do something in an object-oriented language. And I've wanted to do this, but I've been struggling with it for the last long period of time for a variety of reasons. Let me talk about some of those, and then maybe I can get on over the next few days or weeks actually doing it. My question was, what language was I going to use for it? Now, I am heavily invested in Microsoft technologies. That's what I always taught. That's what I use. So that's what I'm going to use. And the fact that somebody might say, oh well, I should be using Java or this or that, well, that's fine, make your own video, but I know I'm going to get some grief about that. So I decided at first, well, I'll make them in VB.NET, because if you know one object-oriented language, you can teach yourself another generally. And VB.NET and C#.NET are way closer than most languages are. But I got thinking, well, if I use VB.NET, what kind of application am I going to write? And from a sort of purist standpoint, it might be easiest to write a console application, because that's the most straightforward, that is uncluttered, is less cluttered by a bunch of objects that are created by the development environment that I didn't want to have to explain away. But ultimately it comes to the fact that most people who are learning object orientation, I think most people, are going to be doing it a graphical user environment. And so I have decided to use VisualBasic.NET. I'm going to wave my arms to make all kinds of issues go away. For instance, I am not going to distinguish between value types and reference types initially. If that doesn't mean anything to you, that's fine. I'm going to do a lot of shortcuts that are going to be imprecise. And another thing, just because you can't teach everything at once, and if you try starting from the very lowest atom and building it up, that is not going to develop a quick, intuitive view that is going to let a programmer buy into the idea of object-oriented programming. And this buy-in is the most important thing. Because even if you don't know all the details, if you understand the value, then as you learn things, you have a framework into which to put these ideas. And that's the most important thing. It subjects me to criticism from the purists, which I wish I could keep from watching the videos. Now, I think my compromise here to myself, because just thinking about it, I'm annoyed at the comments I'm going to get. Not from the people for whom the videos are intended, but I'm going to be annoyed. And they're going to say, well, you should have done this, don't you realize this, that kind of stuff. Is that I'm probably going to put annotations in the videos trying to reflect that I do understand these things as I cut some corners. And with the hope and direction that I'll try to put in the comments that people who are learning this subject turn off annotations for the videos. The annotations, I'll probably put up the videos before, perhaps well before I put in those annotations. But there will also be the idea, if you're going to put in comments, like that start talking about, polymorphism and inheritance well before I'm ready to get there. Or you want to talk about some other esoteric issues, important issues, but esoteric to the person who's trying to learn, then I'm going to just have to remove the comments and block you. If you want to make those kind of comments, at least do it through messages to me. Don't clutter up the comments with things that are beyond the understanding of the audience that I am initially directing things. Now, my plans are that I'm going to make a video or videos initially sort of following this pattern. I'm going to talk about object consumers, even people who don't understand object orientation at all. If they've written in something like ASP, not even .NET, or maybe Perl or some other PHP or some language I don't know, but you're object consumers. You use objects with properties, methods, and events, even if you don't know how to create classes that are prototypes for objects. So first I want to show how probably many people who would be viewing the videos are already what I call object consuming programmers. They use them, they get comfortable using them, and don't fully appreciate what they're doing. After that, I want to move to the idea of structures. Now, structures have changed over time to the point where they have a lot of attributes in common with classes. I want to do this sort of in a historical way so that I can show the distinctions and the evolution of the ideas. Then, in what I think will be the third video from now, I'm going to write a simple application using Visual Basic.NET in largely a non-object-oriented way, which means it has classes and objects built in it that I'm going to have to use, but as far as writing the code that I'm going to write for a simple application that will probably be a little thing that emulates the appearance and behavior of an ATM, no money is dispensed. That we're going to write it, and we're going to do it the way people who are not familiar with object orientation would do it. And we're going to see some of the problems that arise. Then, in another video, I will make the same application encapsulating the attributes of certain bank concepts in classes. Following that, we can look at inheritance, take that class as a base class, and make different types of accounts that have things in common, but also have things that are different. So this is my plan for now. If you're going to make some comment saying I absolutely can't do it that way for something, and you're going to do it later, do it now. Either leave a comment here, or send me an IM, or heck, even make a video, so we can resolve some of these issues. It may ultimately turn out that I need to do this in more than one language to satisfy some people. But I'm trying to get people to buy into the idea, to see its utility, to understand the minimal amount that is necessary to appreciate this, because then you can go on and have some motivation for learning it. If it's we start from the tiny details and work our way up, that is not going to be the result.